Good afternoon. My name is Brankitsa Brusin. I am with the Canadian Foreign Service and have been a migration officer for 15 years now for the Canadian government, and have had some exposure to international criminal courts, legal proceedings, criminal conviction, assessments, etc. And am pleased to offer my expertise, however limited, to respond to some of the questions posed by the team here. So, in response to legitimacy in international law, what makes a special tribunal like the ICTR legitimate in the eyes of the international community, and what challenges can undermine that legitimacy? Well, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, established in 1994, had a very particular mandate, and the legitimacy gained for the actual legal foundation came from the UN Security Council. A lot of the credibility of UN Security Council decisions is that it's a reflection of the international community's will and adherence to due process, its independence from political influence within the region or within the country that where the atrocities took place, transparent procedures, fair trials. All of this is part of the international due process that gives credibility to the ICTR. However, the legitimacy can also be undermined by perceptions of bias, by the length of the proceedings. The ICTR was established in 1994 and was closed in December of 2015. So it's a period of 20 years where proceedings were ongoing, and so that can definitely weaken the legitimacy claim of the courts. There's also limited engagement with the affected communities. The ICTR was established in Arusha, Tanzania, actually. And so for a lot of the local Rwandan peoples that were affected by the genocides, they felt that didn't give them the voice to express their concerns. Also, there was no investigation of possible crimes by politicians from countries within the West, so from Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, the UK, or the US, all of whom countries were being in negotiations with the Rwandan government before the genocide. And so the scope of the ICTR was also limited, understandably so, but did contribute to some of the shortcomings that were later on discussed for the ongoing life of the tribunal. Thank you. In response to your second question, the tribunal's impact on global justice, how do you see the ICTR's influence on the development of international criminal law and on later multinational institutions such as the International Criminal Court? The ICTR significantly influenced international criminal law by clarifying the legal definitions of genocide, of war crimes, of crimes against humanity, and commanding responsibility. Its jurisprudence that was developed through the ICTR's creation has become fundamental and foundational for later courts, including the International Criminal Court. It was just a very clear demonstration that even high-level officials, so at the president's level, or heads of state and heads of government, can be tried in criminal court and do not have immunity in that respect, demonstrating that high-level officials can be held responsible for their actions, and normalizing the idea of a permanent international criminal institution, of procedural standards, of prosecutorial strategies that are used by the international courts, as well as the victim and witness protection programs that exist and that have been through the years perfected. The International Criminal Court was established in 2002, so it's just over 23 years since its existence. And the idea is that it's complementary to national courts and not intended to replace the jurisdictional independence of states. There is obviously controversy on international criminal courts and their existence and their jurisprudence and their power over certain individuals and over countries, but obviously that is to be expected. Thank you. In response to question 3, balancing international and local justice, the ICTR operated alongside Rwanda's community-based Gakaka courts. From a diplomatic standpoint, what does this combination say about the strengths and limits of international tribunals in post-conflict societies? So as I mentioned in response to the previous question, international courts are not intended to replace national jurisdictional systems from national governments. They are intended to be complementary to So the coexistence of this example of the ICTR and Rwanda's Gacaca courts highlight that international tribunals can deliver fair, precedent-setting trials, but they do often lack the speed and the cultural grounding and community reach that's required after any incidents of mass violence, such as the genocide in Rwanda. And for diplomatically, what it shows is that the effective post-conflict solutions and justice requires multiple layers. It requires international mechanisms, such as the ICTR has provided, for top-level perpetrators particularly, that might not have the same reach at the local level, and then local processes for the broad societal reconciliation efforts that are required. Each of those complementary processes fills gaps that the other cannot. And so when you combine the two, they're complementary and they're not intended to replace the judicial courts at the local level, but to definitely supplement and have a more multifaceted approach to global justice. Question 4, political will and international cooperation. What does the ICTR teach us about the political will and international cooperation required for tribunals to be effective? So the ICTR, it's similar to the International Criminal Court Tribunal for Yugoslavia or the International Criminal Court, demonstrate that international justice depends heavily on state cooperation for arrests, for evidence sharing, for witness protection, for the full gamut of activities related to the international to criminal courts or tribunals. Political will, both at the global as well as at the regional level, is essential for enforcing mandates, for ensuring that tribunals aren't merely symbolic, which is sometimes one of the criticisms that's posed. And when states refuse to extradite or suspects or to shield their own allies, or tribunal effectiveness declines significantly because the tribunal is not able to function in a wholesome way and to do their job effectively, in essence. Conversely, when there's coordinated diplomatic pressure and there's a shared commitment among the state, regional, as well as the global level, then accountability can be made possible through these combined efforts. And finally, a final reflection. If you could highlight one key lesson that the ICTR and Rwanda offer to the world about pursuing justice after mass atrocity, what would it be? I think we mentioned it in the previous answer as well, but a central lesson from this example would be that justice after mass atrocity must be multifaceted. There are multiple layers that need to be covered, and no single mechanism can restore a society after these events take place. Yes, legal accountability matters, but so does truth-telling, and so does community healing and rebuilding institutions, rebuilding communities, rebuilding a sense of normalcy for communities. And the way that sustainable justice emerges is when international standards are combined with the local ownership at the community level, and ensuring that both global norms and community healing drive the post-conflict recovery process. There has to be a synergy between those elements, otherwise it's not complete. And my personal accounts in refugee resettlement, both at the personal and the professional level, have shown me that this multifaceted approach and over a long time is the only way to get through to the initial stages of healing, both at the community level, at the individual level, at the state level, and in terms of the international community seeing the possible effects of community for communities, of healing, sorry, for the communities involved. So I thank you very much, and all the best.